What's going on, family? How you feeling today, man? It's your boy Uncle P, and I'm live here from the Cultivate Mature Positivity Studio. And I have with me, right, two very extremely important people that are down with the CASA movement. Now, everybody wants to know what's CASA. So this is CASA, CASA Youth Advocates, serving Delaware and Chester counties, right? That's their information. You can look up all their stuff online. But I'm going to talk to them so we can get a perspective from them about how they operate and how they move in our community. I have first Miss Tamara Wilson. She is the Chester County Program Manager for CASA, and she serves as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at CASA Youth Advocates. How you doing, Miss Tamara? How are you doing today? I'm sorry. How you doing, Miss Tamara? How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. And you? So, and then I have Miss Phyllis Slutsky. She is a volunteer advocate. So she is doing all the things that we're trying to get our community to do for the young men and the young women of CASA. How you doing today, Miss Phyllis?
Good, thank you.
No problem, no problem. So let's get right into it, right? Who is CASA and what is CASA?
Sure, and thank you so much for having us on this afternoon or this morning. We really appreciate it, and we really appreciate being able to have the audience that we're trying to reach today, which is our Black and Brown communities, especially in the Chester community. So CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And what we are is a volunteer-based organization helping to support youth who are involved in the dependency court system or the foster care system in Delaware and Chester counties. And our mission really is to help abused and neglected children live well, achieve academic excellence, and experience just the joys of being a child by providing them with a trained volunteer advocate who speaks to their best interest. And Ms. Phyllis today is here as one of those volunteer advocates to talk about her experience with our program. She's supported by a case supervisor. All of our case supervisors are either professionally trained social workers or attorneys who really help our advocates. You don't have to have any kind of background, any type of educational experience to become a volunteer advocate with us, because you're partnered with that professional staff person that really walks you through the system as you help to support that youth.
So that's what I was going to say. Like, can you break down the inside of CASA, how CASA looks from the top to the bottom down to the volunteers?
Yeah, absolutely. So CASA is actually a national organization. And then there are programs in all, but I think one of the states in the country, here in Pennsylvania, there's about 20 programs, and we serve both Chester and Delaware counties. So our program consists of staff members who we recruit and train our volunteer advocates. And we get advocates from all walks of life. We have all ages above 21, and really a mix of people who work full-time, people who are retired, and some people in between. So it's really a role that anyone can do. We provide all the training and support. We just really ask that you trust kind of the process. So what happens is that you contact our organization. You can reach us by visiting our website, which is delcocasa.org, or you can call us 610-565-2208. From there, we have you fill out an application, and then you're contacted by a staff person about what else you need to do. We provide this training that gives you an overview of the child welfare system, kind of who the players are, who you'd be working with, and that really is your starting place. And then once you complete that training, you get sworn in by one of our local judges, and that makes you official as a CASA advocate. You tell us kind of what you're looking for in terms of your advocate role, the type of case that you're comfortable with, how many children you want to support. The model behind CASA is that one volunteer advocate serves one child or a sibling group. And that's the benefit of having a CASA, is that these kids are placed in the system where, they have caseworkers, they have social workers who are responsible for handling a number of children on their caseload. And CASA's model is really that one-on-one individual support. So we're able to provide that attention, gather the information, and really focus on the needs of that child or that sibling group and bring that information to the team so that we're making good decisions and bringing that information to the court, who ultimately is making the decisions, could be big decisions as where this child's going to live, or simple like how much they're going to get for a stipend for clothing while they're in foster care. So we really want everyone to be aware that we have a need for advocates of color at this point. We serve the majority of the youth that we serve are Black and brown children. However, our advocates don't look like the children that we serve, and we love all of our advocates. We want to make that known, but we do see that there's a value in having an advocate with a child who has similar experiences, who knows the community that they grow up in, who look like them. Essentially, is what it comes down to. We see value in that, and we want to make sure that we're doing our part to help recruit those advocates where we can.
I think it's important, right, that we get the Black and the brown advocates or the volunteers involved with CASA. So right now, for all the 9 people that are watching, I need you to share this live. I need you to get out there to somebody, because there are tons of people that want to give their time to organizations, and CASA is definitely one of those organizations that you got to get down with, and you got to get down with now. Children need you, right? It's holiday time. It's a time of feeling either with family or away from family, and you don't want children to have that growing up, that stigma that they're away from family too often. The process of what a volunteer looks like. Can we talk about that for a couple seconds?
Sure. And did you want to hear from
Yeah,
Phyllis?
from
Maybe she could talk to
Miss
you about
Phyllis.
how
Yeah.
how she came to us.
Yes.
So there is a wide variety of, it's mostly female, so we always need males. And my situation was I had retired recently as a pediatric nurse, and I wanted to use my skills directly. I was looking at organizations, but they didn't really directly work with children. Their mission was to help children, but I wanted to have the chance to do more direct helping. So when I found CASA and went in for an interview, I was extremely impressed with the organization when I read about it. I also found out that there's a much higher chance of kids not returning to foster care once they're discharged if they have a CASA, like 5 times greater chance that they'll stay where they're placed. And the other thing was that I found out that about 20% of the kids who are actually in foster care have a CASA due to the lack of staff and volunteers. So there was like a great need to have more people. So I looked at the training, which was very comprehensive, and there was a training class coming up, and I signed right up quicker than I expected to.
Right.
And the other thing was that they reassured me from the beginning that there would always be a staff supervisor. And my experience with CASA is that they're excellent people with lots of years experience. They walk you through it. You're never alone with making decisions, but you're still the person that takes the lead, which in my case, I really liked. And many of the volunteers feel the same way. They may be people that want to be directly impacting families. So you get your first case as soon as you're sworn in by the court. And my first case was a family of 3 boys, ages 11, 13, and 16, who lived in Delaware County. A year before, their father had a serious auto accident where he was critically injured and had a brain injury. And people in the family and friends moved into their home, which he owned, and took care of the kids for several months, but wasn't paying the bills, wasn't paying the mortgage. And by the end of that year, they were foreclosed upon, and there was nobody to really take custody of these boys.
Right.
So they were moved to a foster home. Initially, they were separated, which was the worst thing, but that was only for a few weeks. And they were placed actually in Chester City in a
Okay.
foster home together. But it was a completely different kind of situation for them and a different school system. So as a CASA, you do a lot of work with the school advocating. If a child has an individualized education plan, the CASA is the one who sits in on those meetings and helps make the plan.
Okay.
We visit once a month. Until COVID, we visited in person once a month, and then that changed somewhat, but we still have contact at least once a month directly with the foster parents and the child. And then in between, the thing that I really liked about this, and I still like about this, is that I do most of the advocacy work from my home. You know, I make phone calls, I send emails. So you don't have to physically be somewhere once you get the training, which I think is a nice thing for a volunteer who has a busy life, that they can work it into their own schedule. So, do you want me to say more about this family?
No, I just wanted to know what it's like to be a volunteer advocate, right? A
Yeah.
court-appointed volunteer advocate. Like,
Yes, so you
how,
feel, you definitely have an immediate feeling that you're doing something worthwhile, that you make a difference, that you are the one person, even if they change living situations, you're the one consistent person that never changes. Because if a kid moves to a new school or a new um, therapist or any of those things, they're constantly changing when they're in foster care, but the CASA stays with them. So I've been after that case closed, and those boys did get to reunify with their dad 3 years later. And
wow,
he rented a house, and now they all live together. And after that case ended, I got another case, which I've been doing for almost 5 years.
okay.
So I have been with this girl through many, many moves and many changes in her situation. And I can always give them the history. She always knows she can call me if she wants to coordinate things with other people on her team. So that's the kind of thing we do. We're the constant person in the child's life.
Stability, right? That one person that's
Right.
always there. That one,
Exactly.
right, right. That stability is essential for children to be able to grow, to have that thing that they can always reach back and grab or lean up on. So that's important. So right now, Chester and surrounding areas, we're asking you, right, to put some time in and become a CASA, right? Become a court-appointed special advocate for these young men and women, right? Because they need us. She just explained the situation about foster care that I really did. The father was in a car accident, right? The father healed from that car accident, correct? And he was able to rent a house and take the kids back 3 years later. So there are different parts of foster care that I don't really understand, but I'm going to learn a lot by having CASA teach me. Right, absolutely. Diversity, inclusion, and cultural competent advocacy. Tamara, I think that's you. That's where you are. Can you explain how this works?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a big part of what we hope to do today is to share more information about kind of the impact of, systemic racism on child welfare. So, our nation is facing this big reckoning with racism in so many parts of our world, and child welfare is not, alone in that. We have horrible outcomes for youth, specifically our Black males, but our Black females as well. Our children of color are nearly 4.5 times more likely to be in foster care than white children. Black children are 4 times more likely to re-enter foster care than white children, and Black children are 4 times more likely to exit foster care without achieving permanency. And we know that when children are in foster care for long periods of time, they have higher dropout rates in school, they have mental health challenges, they experience unemployment and homelessness, which goes into adulthood, right? So we see ourselves as something, as a person or an organization in a youth life that can really stop the trajectory of that. if we can get in there and start advocating for these services and supports. And let me just say that we don't have to be that person in that child's life, but if we're calling attention to these issues and we're trying to make outreach to different services and different organizations within the community to help this family, to help these children, that's what we want to do. We don't necessarily have to be that person, but we want to be that person that has that history, that can be able to provide that information to the people that need to have it in order to make sure, that these children can be successful. And so we really want to call attention to that because it's a big issue and it's not something that gets a lot of attention, but it is systemic racism is a big deal in child welfare. And we really want to do our part to make sure that people are aware of it. And like I said, to make sure that you all know that you have the ability to make a difference, to change a child's story.
Mm. I'm gonna go back because it was something that you said that kind of hit me. Black children are 4 times more likely to exit foster care without achieving permanency. What does that mean?
Right. So, when a child comes into the foster care system, they are always given a primary goal, and that goal is 99% of the time is reunification. Right. So we want to, whatever the circumstances that were there that necessitated that child being removed from their home. The idea is that we're trying to help support the family, provide enough services and support for that family so that they can get to be in a better place where then that child can safely be returned to their home. So that's the goal. That's always the end goal. So when we talk about those permanency rates, and our Black children 4 times likely to not have that permanency, achieve that permanency, that's what we're talking about. These children are not either reunifying, and if reunification can occur, we're trying to find family resources that can take them in and be, a permanent resource for them. And then, obviously there's adoption, and some other permanency outcomes that can occur, but we're looking for reunification in most instances. And so what we're seeing is that that's not happening at the rate that it's happening with other races. Black children are staying in foster care longer and they're not reunifying.
Wow. A child who spends long periods in foster care is more likely than other children to drop out of school, have mental health challenges, and experience unemployment and or homelessness as an adult. It's imperative that we help these young men, right? These young women, these young men, and we give them everything that we have. You might have an abundance of gifts. You might be able to buy the best of everything, right? But if you can't pass that down to the ones that have less than you, then you're absolutely, I'm not going to say you're worthless, but your value is only to yourself. You have no value to no one else. So CASA is here today, right? And they've been here. How long has CASA been up and running?
Oh, that's a trick question. So we've been in Delaware County. It's just not one that was on my mind. We're
Right.
over 25 years. I know that much. In Delaware County, Chester County, a little bit over 5 years, I believe. But we've been in the community for a long time. And like I said, CASA is a part of a national organization who has been around for, I think, 50 plus years at this point. So, we're pretty, even though we've been in the community for a long time, we're not reaching the audience that we want to,
Right.
which is why we're trying to increase our awareness of these issues specifically, so that we can try and get to the community members that we really want to see represented within our organization.
And we're not going to play around with you, right? So to become a court appointed special advocate, you have to be court appointed. So that means you have to go into Delaware County Courthouse, right? And you have to go through everything that Miss Phyllis Stuckey went through, right? Miss Phyllis, can you explain the day you were court appointed? Like, what was that process like for you?
Actually, it's a very nice ceremony within the judges' chambers, like in their office, where all of you take an oath, and then they give you a certificate, and you record your name in the court documents so that you're then able to speak in court and testify. So every court case, the children go to court about every 5 months when they're in foster care, unless there's some big change that has to be dealt with. It may be more often than that, but the CASA is always there with them at court, always is called upon by the judge to speak. So even though they get reports from children and youth and their caseworkers in foster care, the CASA still is highly respected, their opinion, because they know, all of the judges know that the CASAs know their families well. And sometimes with my girl right now that I've been with for several years, I've been there a lot in court with her, and they always call upon me and ask, is there anything else to add? We also do a written report for every court visit that the staff case supervisor helps us with. So that's what it means to be. And the other thing about being appointed by the court is that you legally have access to that child's information. So if I call a school and want to see their records or want to communicate something, I legally have the right to do that. We have a form where it proves that we've been court appointed to do that, and that's been very easy to work with because foster parents are not legally allowed to do that.
At all. You went through a 30-hour training course to become an advocate.
Right.
What was that like?
It's very comprehensive. It meets on, I'm not sure of the exact schedule, but because I did mine 7 years ago, but at the time it was a couple of nights a week for like 2 hours a session.
Okay.
And they review things like the court system, explaining all of that. They have guest speakers come in from the court system, the role of the CASA. They also do a lot with communications with families, like how to talk to parents, how to talk to foster parents, how to work with the kids directly. We did a lot of role playing and cases, like we present cases. So by the time I finished that, I felt much more ready to, I knew exactly what to do the first time I saw a live family. And the case supervisor also always attends the first visit with the CASA, and then thereafter anytime they need to, but not every visit. The CASAs make them based on their own schedule.
Absolutely.
Does that answer?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You answered the question about the 30-hour training course, because what we see is a lot of our people will make excuses as to why they can't do it. A 30-hour training course, I can't fit that in, but we have the time, right? We have the ability to make ourselves profound, right?
By the way,
Profound.
now it's virtual, so it's easier for people as far as attending. They can attend virtually on Zoom.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep, and you can
So,
visit our website and find out that information. We hold training classes throughout the year. I believe we're up to 5 or 6 sessions a year. So they're pretty much ongoing, and we offer them both in the daytime and the evening to be, we want to be flexible. We understand people are busy in their lives. We want to make it as flexible and accessible as possible for
absolutely.
all.
Ways CASA is trying to address disproportionality and disparities in child welfare. Can you explain that for me real quick, Tamara?
Yeah, absolutely. So that goes to, that stat that I was talking about of, our advocates are, we at this point, we're not reflective of the community that we're serving, but we honor and appreciate the advocates that we have. We want to make sure that we are doing our part to train and support our advocates who are working with youth who may not be from the same background as them. So we're providing a lot of training as it relates to, racial equity. We're talking about our implicit bias, our explicit and implicit biases. We're really doing a lot of self-reflection because we recognize that like as Phyllis said, our reports, our recommendations, what we say at court really holds a lot of weight. And we want to make sure that anything that we are bringing to that is very well thought out, and it's objective, and it's not coming with our own kind of beliefs about what is best for any one particular child or children. So we do a lot of conversations about, racism and how it impacts kids in our community, how we can be providing services, how we best can address those needs. And if we're not the ones that can do it, where are the resources so that we can find them and make those referrals so that they do receive them? So those are kinds of things that we're doing. We're making sure our advocates really are in tune with that, are aware of what disproportionality is, which again is that overrepresentation of our children of color in the foster care system.
Right, right. Now, Ms. Slutsky, how do you feel about what you do as far as CASA? How does that make you feel inside?
I have felt from day one that I was doing something purposeful and worthwhile. Um, I have to say there are times when it's going better than others. You definitely rise and fall on what's going on with your children. But for the most part, even with my current girl who's going through a lot, she's 18 and she's trying to figure out what she's going to do. She's been accepted to college but didn't follow through right away because of her living situation. I still feel that having me there as a resource is something that may help her. And I do think that in 5 years from now, she'll look back and see that. You don't always get immediate rewards from teenagers, as we all know. But it still keeps me going because I know that I'm doing something that's going to eventually impact on her whole life in the future.
Tamara, how can people learn about the opportunities and become a volunteer at CASA?
Sure. So we offer a variety of ways for you to learn more about our program. So we hold regular information sessions. At this point, everything that we are doing is virtual. Due to COVID. So if you go to our website, you can find more information about our information sessions. We also have a program called an Impact Hour where we have advocates and staff talk about actual stories from cases, children that we've served and their outcomes. And that we hold those for small groups on a regular basis as well. So you can find information about that on our website, which again is tocasa.org.
So, other ways people can support CASA if they're not able to volunteer.
Absolutely. So we appreciate that you may not have the time commitment to be a full-on advocate for us. However, there are lots of ways that you can contribute, both financially. We always accept monetary donations. We encourage corporate partnerships. All of that information can be found on our website, delcocasa.org. Currently, we're doing a holiday gift drive, so we're collecting gifts, gift cards, any donations that you might have to give to help support youth who we serve in the foster care system. We'll deliver those gifts prior to the holiday time so that they have that to open up on Christmas morning. They
So
celebrate.
you are taking gifts. People can volunteer. People can give toys to tots. They can do whatever they're doing. They can give it directly to you.
Absolutely.
So where they can just go onto your website or call your number and find out the locations where they can drop everything off, right?
Yeah, right now we're collecting it in our media location, but if you contact our office, 610-565-2208, you can reach out to our office manager who will direct you on how that drop-off will look.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to thank you guys for taking some time out of your day, your very busy day. I know we're dealing with teaching kids at home and trying to have a life, right? But I want to thank you guys for talking about CASA, for coming through. Now, don't forget, y'all owe me an in-person interview. So y'all owe me that. I want that in 2021, man. Come through and let the people see exactly who they're talking to and who's talking to them. I think is extremely important. But I appreciate you guys stopping through today. You know, any way CMP can help you out and continue to further your mission of CASA, it's my pleasure. Any day, any day.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No problem, no problem, no problem. So have a good one and be safe. Is there anything you want to say before we roll out?
No, I think we're fine. We had a good amount of time to talk. I think we got all the good information in.
All right. Well, have a good one. Be safe. And I love y'all. Peace. Listen, family, man, it's imperative that we help out, right? It was once said that a man went fishing and he went fishing by himself and he caught a boatload of fish and he came back to the village and he gave that fish away. And he did this every day of his life for 10 to 15 years. One day he went out to fish and never came back. So the village went hungry, right? Do you hear what I'm saying? No one else knew how to fish. No one else went with the man to learn how to fish. We have to bring people with us when we go to do things. We have to bring people to a point of understanding when we go to do things. CASA is that group for us, right? We can talk to the young children, right, that are in foster care, right? You heard the Phyllis broke down the family whose father got into a car accident. He had 3 sons. Those 3 sons didn't know what to do. The family moved into the house, but they weren't paying the bills. So the house got repossessed. So the children had to go to a different school. This was 3 years they had to deal with this. But the father struggled and fought to come back to take care of his kids, right? We have to be able to be there for the kids so they can lean up against us, right? Children are tired, right? They're always running. We as adults have gone through these problems and these issues before, and we continue to see them. So I want us to step up, right? Come forward. We can hit CASA up. They say hit us up anytime right here. CASA Youth Advocates Incorporated, serving Delaware and Chester counties. The P.O. Box, the phone number, the website. You can check them out when our new website drops at the beginning of the year. Get with them, help them, volunteer, give some money, whatever you can do to help CASA continue to do what CASA is doing. Become a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate. Grow, give. That's what it's all about. So it's cmpradio.net, man. It's your boy, Uncle P. You already know, man. I love y'all. I'm telling y'all, be calm and be fruitful.